The text I chose to do for my individual article presentation is titled Because Digital Writing Matters, Improving Student Writing in Online and Multimedia Environments. It's actually not an article, it's a book, and it's in print format, and it was written by 3 authors associated with the National Writing Project. And the thing I liked about it is that it offers a lot of information and tips for teaching students 21st century writing skills. One of the first things the authors do for the readers of the text is try to define what digital writing actually means. And they conducted some research as well as their own interviews to figure out what people are saying about digital writing and its meaning. They received answers as broad as any writing that requires a computer to access it, all the way down to things that were very specific. For example, collaborative writing, writing that includes hypertext, blogging, social networking, e-learning, and really just about any form of communication that can be done in writing online. Regardless of how one chooses to define digital writing, it certainly is something that will be important for students to understand when it comes to being able to communicate with others in the digital environment. The authors define digital technology, including digital writing, as encouraging a, quote, participatory culture, and that is a culture with relatively low barriers to artistic expression, with strong support for creating and sharing one's work, with informal mentorship, where people who are expert in certain things are able to pass on their knowledge to those who are less versed, where members believe that their contributions matter, and where these members feel a social connection with one another. These are all things that writing teachers and digital writing teachers want to cultivate in their classrooms, want to give students these experiences so that they can perform digital writing tasks well. One of the first steps to teaching digital writing is shifting the rhetorical terrain. So this means reshaping the rhetorical situations in which students are asked to write. No longer is it just the traditional pencil and paper writing task completed in the classroom. It even goes beyond students writing in Microsoft Word in a computer lab or at home. You have to reshape the situations in which students write. This includes writing in the blogging environment, writing in forums, writing in social networking. It's a whole shift when it comes to the situation students encounter. It includes asking students to create traditional as well as web-specific documents using technology. Asking students to broaden the audiences for whom they write, extend it beyond just the teacher or their peers to include people across the country and globe. And then reshaping students' purposes for writing. No longer are they writing just to maybe get an A, but they're writing to raise awareness about something, or writing to entertain, for example. Some of the pedagogical requirements for shifting rhetorical terrain that the authors recommend include offering students rich contexts for writing, offering them rhetoric that is technological, social, and cultural. So giving them the vocabulary necessary to navigate those 3 aspects of digital writing. Giving them analytical, thoughtful, and critical consciousness of technology. So having them analyze what to use when and how to respond appropriately in certain digital formats. Also, giving students the learning how to learn approach. When it comes to digital writing, students are breaking out of their comfort zones. So there are going to be a lot of things that they're going to have to be willing to learn in order to become good at communicating in those situations. Blogging, for example. They may have to learn a blogging platform and what's expected of writers in the blogging environment. And then finally, recognition of multimodal approaches to writing. So writing no longer just includes something typed up on a paper, but it also includes perhaps digital stories or public service announcement. The authors of the text also discuss how writing process work is enhanced with digital tools. One of the things they talk about is audience and identity. With traditional modes of writing, students' audiences and identities are limited to themselves, their peers, teachers, and maybe their family and school. But with digital modes of writing, they have those traditional audiences and identities and a whole lot more. They can appeal to their community members. They can interact with people in interest networks. So students interested in graphic novels, for example, can interact with peers also interested in that form of writing. They can submit their work to online publications, whether that's through blogging or online magazines for youth to publish. Digital modes also offer students opportunities to see how others craft writing and to be able to link to their various identities and products through profiles in social media. The writing process itself is also enhanced with digital tools, according to the authors. They talk about how digital tools make planning, drafting, and revision a lot easier. Students can complete things like cluster diagrams or outlines using online sites. They can save their work and revisit it several times and see the number of revisions that they've done in sites like Google Drive. They can comment on pieces that they're collaborating with others on, or they can receive feedback from peers and teachers. Web-based digital tools also allow, quote, a writer's process to move from idea to idea, machine to machine, space to space, and time to time, end quote, which really means that writing can happen anywhere at any time. And, it opens up the possibilities. Writing is no longer just restricted to the classroom or to the home, but it can be taken anywhere. The authors also discuss how researching is enhanced with digital tools. Students can gather links to helpful, credible sources and bookmark them in sites like Digo or Delicious. Students can also highlight and annotate digital texts, which is great for research. They can make note of information they find interesting or compelling and mark down their ideas why directly in the digital environment. There's no need to print and handwrite anymore. And students can share digital texts with one another, which is great, and they can use social media to do that. They can also form groups in social bookmarking sites like Digo. Finally, the authors talk about how publishing is enhanced with digital tools. It expands student opportunity for publication for little or no cost. It also allows students to publish multi-genre and multimodal writing, things like blog posts, podcasts, digital stories, movies, wikis, and so forth. Things that traditionally may not have been considered writing, which are now growing in importance in our culture. So students broaden their audience, and it therefore gives them a different perspective about their own writing, and it motivates them to learn to be effective communicators. All of this means that digital writing is effective at building 21st century literacy skills. Students learn things like creativity and originality. They learn to work with others, to manage time, to be leaders. They learn to make knowledge and to analyze the relevance and credibility of things they come across on the internet. And they learn good digital citizenship skills, which all are important for 21st century communicators. The nice thing about digital writing is that it meets many Common Core standards. In my discipline alone, it meets several standards for writing as well as speaking and listening. So in the English language arts, there are standards with production and distribution of writing, research to build and present knowledge, range of writing and writing frequency, comprehension and collaboration, and presentation of knowledge and ideas. And there are standards in each of these categories that actually specifically mention using technology to create, to revise, to publish, and to share. As assessing digital writing, there are some ideas for teachers to use. One of these is to collect extended writing samples over time, and blogs are a great way to do this. Students essentially have an online writing portfolio and can chart their progress and growth. You can also have students write in multiple genres. So they may write on their blogs, they may write formal essays in Google Drive, they may also create digital poetry books using things like Photo Story. All of these are examples of writing, but they're multimodal. Teachers should also apply appropriate rubrics. There's not one one-size-fits-all rubric. It should be carefully designed to target the requirements of each writing situation. Teachers should address writing across content areas. There is opportunity to collaborate with teachers in other disciplines on projects. And teachers, probably most importantly, should look for the following: students' abilities to decide on mode and content for specific purposes, to be able to structure their texts with attention to design and layout so that it's, easy for audiences to read and understand. They should look for students' abilities to use technical features for effect, so their abilities to use camera angles, to use color, to use language appropriate to the audience and the purpose. And then they should look for students' abilities to reflect on their writing choices. So students should be asked, what do you think of the writing you did? What would you change next time? Is there a different mode that you think might be more effective for getting your message across? How do you think your peers performed, and how do you think you personally performed on group projects? Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, I really found this text useful, and I wasn't able to put everything that they discussed into this presentation, but I would highly recommend people check it out. I also pulled content standards directly from the Common Core website, from the English Language Arts Speaking and Listening standards, as well as writing standards. And all the images for the presentation come from a Google image search. And anything yielded in the Google image search directly in Google Drive is labeled for reuse and modification.